I cry a lot. I don't know why. I'm a very emotional person. I cry a lot, whether it's happy tears or sad tears or like I'm crying from laughing so hard. They just come out. I just cry. As you can see, I dyed my hair and I also changed the name of my channel. It used to be Radio Girl Reads and now it is A Cup of Nicole. I don't know why I decided to change it, but I kind of wanted it to be like a little more personal, and I think it was just time to get rid of this radio girl image that I made for myself in high school. We're just growing and we're moving on, and it's okay. Before this video starts though, please check out my description for various petitions for you to sign, as well as places to donate if you can. If anything, pause this video, check that stuff out, share it with your friends, your family, and then come back. Thank you. Okay, this is the first time that I do the mid-year book freakout tag, and I don't know, I just really like this tag. Everybody does it every single year, and it's just very interesting to see how different everybody's answers are, and it's also a really good way to just find new book recommendations, maybe hear about some books that you've never heard about before, and yeah. Let's just get started then. First question is, what is the best book that you have read so far this year? And for this, I have two answers. The first one is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and the second one is, of course, Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This was also my most anticipated book of all year because Elizabeth Acevedo is just one of my new favorite authors. Everything that she writes is phenomenal. The characters are incredible. The writing is just breathtaking. And this is also the same reason that I really enjoyed The Bluest Eye, because Toni Morrison's writing is just really, really unique, and it's so poetic, it's so beautiful. It's just, the only word I could really find to describe Toni Morrison's writing is just beautiful. If you haven't read any of her work, I recommend you do. This was the first book that I read by her, and so far it's the only one, but I definitely plan on reading more of her stuff because I was just blown away. The second question is, what has been your favorite sequel? And I don't really have an answer for this because I haven't read a sequel this year. I don't really read a lot of series, but I do plan on reading The Hunger Games this year, so we'll see. The next question is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you're excited to do so? And for this, I have to go with Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. If you haven't heard about this book, you live under a rock, because everybody on book Twitter, Bookstagram, Booktube, literally every single person that reads has talked about this book. And not only is the cover beautiful, I already own it, and I don't know why I haven't read it. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I think I'll probably pick it up soon. Anyway, yeah, this is definitely a new release that I'm just so excited to read. It's about a boy, a trans boy, who in his school, I guess it's high school, he kind of gets outed, and his dead name is exposed. His pre-transition photos are spread around the school, and he's just dealing with like this terrible time of people exposing his life prior to transitioning. But at the same time, he actually finds himself in a love triangle that was not expected at all. So I feel like it's gonna be a really fun book, but it's also gonna cover really important topics. The next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And I have various answers, but I'm gonna narrow it down to, I think, 3 books. The first one is Dear Justice by Nic Stone. This is the second book in this like Dear Martin series. I read Dear Martin this year, and I just really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to this sequel. The next book I'm excited for is Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Brown. This actually comes out in like 2 days, and I'm not too sure yet if I'm just gonna go buy it immediately on the day of release or if I'm gonna wait, but look at this cover. It's amazing. I really like retellings, and I especially like retellings with a twist. Like if it's just a straight retelling, it's not that good. Disney Twisted Tales. This one looks great, so I'm really excited for that one. The last book I'm excited for is A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but this one comes out in October. I don't really know what it's about. I think I read the summary once, but I don't remember. I don't really like reading that many synopses before I read a book, but this one is just intriguing because it's about a Cuban girl, and I haven't really read a good book that has like good Cuban rep for me personally, and I have high hopes for this one. It has a really cute cover. I like tea. We'll see. I don't know. The next question is, what has been the biggest disappointment so far? And for this I have two answers because I can't just choose one book for any of these questions. The biggest disappointment is probably Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and somebody else. I read like over half of this book and I just couldn't bring myself to keep reading it. I don't know what it was. I really can't tell you. I did enjoy like the mixed media way of it. It was entertaining. I liked it. It kept me going, but the plot was just, I didn't care about it. I couldn't remember really what even happened like 2 pages ago. So it was really hard for me to read because I had to keep going back and reminding myself what happened. And the characters, I couldn't care about them. I really didn't give a crap about any of the characters. So I was just like, I'm not gonna waste my time anymore with this book. I've tried, and there's too many other books for me to read. And my second answer for this is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I did read it, and I did give it 3 stars, so I don't think that it's a bad book, but I think I had too high expectations for it because everybody loves it and everyone talked about it, and I do like dark academia. I guess this is considered dark academia or just like academia. So I was excited about it, but I don't really think I could get into it that much. I gave it 3 stars because it was good, but it wasn't like a phenomenal book like what I was expecting. The next question is, what is your biggest surprise so far? And for that, I have to go with The Year We Fell from Space by A.S. King. This is a middle grade book, and I probably shouldn't have been surprised that I loved it because I really have enjoyed reading middle grade recently. So but I don't know, I didn't expect it to be a 5-star read, which is what it was for me. When I first picked it up, I expected it to be kind of like Illuminae and like a lot more spacey or sciencey, and it was kind of spacey and sciencey, but in a good way, and it wasn't overloaded. But then it had these themes of dealing with family trauma, family illness, like having a depressed parent, dealing with divorce at such a young age. It just like tackled really important themes that I think are important for middle grade readers to read about, and I'm sure that a bunch of kids felt seen in this book because A.S. King just did a great job talking about dealing with divorce, talking about how to deal with a depressed parent, and it was just great. Like, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed every single page of this book. I highly recommend this book for anybody, absolutely anybody, especially for older readers. Like, if you're not a middle grade reader, I think you would really, really appreciate this book. Fun fact, I got this recommendation from a reading vlog by Books and Lala, and in that same reading vlog she read Illuminae, and that's why I picked up both of the books. But it's just funny to see that I really didn't enjoy Illuminae, but then I got like one of my favorite books of all time from that same vlog, you know? The next question is, who is your new favorite author? I haven't read, how can I say this? I have only read like one book by an author this year. Like, I haven't read an author's multiple books, you know what I mean? But that doesn't change my answer for this question. A lot of people have said for this question like, oh, I have to read 2 or 3 of an author's works to consider them a favorite author. But I'm just like, if I read one book and it was amazing, you're my new favorite author. So for this question, I have 2 answers as always. The first one is Nicola Yoon. I read The Sun Is Also a Star by her earlier this year. I listened to the audiobook and I just thought it was amazing. It had absolutely every trope that I personally love. The writing was also very casual, but it was still very engaging and very well written. I also really enjoyed reading Virginia Woolf. I read Mrs. Dalloway because my boyfriend really liked that book and he recommended it. And kind of the same thing with Toni Morrison, where her writing was just a unique writing style for me. I hadn't read anything similar to Virginia Woolf's style, so that kind of like shocked me or surprised me about it. And I have more of her stuff, so I want to read more, but to be completely honest, I have so many answers for this question. Like Celeste Ng, I'm currently listening to the audiobook of Everything I Never Told You. So far I love it. I read Little Fires Everywhere this year, and I also really enjoyed that book. I just have too many answers for my questions. I can't like just choose one. The next question is, who is your new fictional crush? I don't really get crushes on characters, and if I like did, it would be weird because most of the books that I read are YA and they're usually underage, so I probably shouldn't have crushes on them, you know what I mean? So for this, I wrote down Han Solo because I read a Star Wars book and I love him. So I guess him? I don't know. The next question is, who is your new favorite character? And again, I have two answers. The first one is Anne Shirley of Anne of Green Gables. I did watch Anne with an E, but I also listened to the audiobook for Anne of Green Gables, and I just think that Anne is a very quirky, funny, unique character. She's very lovable for me. I think that for some people she might come off as a little annoying, too talkative, or too like free-spirited, but I kind of like that, especially considering that she's literally 13 and she has such a dark past. I really like that she is such an optimistic and hopeful person. And my second answer for this is Izzy Richardson from Little Fires Everywhere. I also did watch the show, the miniseries on Hulu, and I still really liked her character in the show. I just think that she is a character who feels very passionately about the things that she believes in, and I don't know how old she is, but maybe she's like 16 or 15, and I don't think that she sees that her age should be something to stop her from getting what she wants or working towards something that she believes in, and I just really admire that a lot of her. And she's also a character who will admit to being wrong, I think. There were moments where Mia would give her advice or tell her like, hey, what you're doing is actually not that helpful, and Izzy would actually take that criticism and allow it to help her, you know what I mean? I really respect that. The next question, I don't even know why this is a question, because I have all the books I've read fall for like under this question, and the question is, what is a book that has made you cry? I cry a lot. I don't know why. I'm a very emotional person. I cry a lot, whether it's happy tears or sad tears, or like I'm crying from laughing so hard. They just come out. I just cry. So all the books I've ever read have made me cry in some way, but I do have some answers. Clap When You Land, The Bluest Eye, All Boys Aren't Blue. Oh my god, the tears. I had to put it down. Okay, so I guess my answer for this would be All Boys Aren't Blue by George Johnson. That book literally had me sobbing to the point where I had to just put it down and just let everything out because I couldn't keep reading. That was probably the book that made me cry the most. The next question is, what is a book that made you happy? And Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman definitely made me feel some happiness that I hadn't felt in a really long time. It was just a really wholesome book. The characters were really cute. I really liked that book, although it was pretty sad at moments, but I think that the happiness overwhelmed me the most. And the second book that also made me really happy was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. That book was just, again, very wholesome, and it was just a really happy read. It made me just feel very warm inside, and if you've read this, I think you would feel the same way. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year? And I'm gonna show you. It's right here. I think that this copy of Little Women and Other Novels is probably the most beautiful book that I've read this year, and not to mention it matches my new look. I just really like these like leather bound editions from Barnes & Noble. The gold sprayed edges is all, they're just like, this is amazing. This is such a beautiful book. No, I haven't finished Little Women, but I have this beautiful copy to motivate me to finish it maybe this year. Last question is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? And like, all of them. All of these freaking books that I have on my shelf, I want to read. But I do have some. The first one is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I bought this book when it came out and I still haven't read it, but the sequel's coming out, so I would like to read it before then so that I could read the sequel. And I also really want to read the Hunger Games series because this prequel novel came out. Everybody has been talking about it, and I don't know why I never got into it, but I wasn't really reading a lot of YA books when I was a teenager, which is when the Hunger Games was like big, so I just never got into it. And then now I'm here, like I feel the FOMO really hard. I really want to get into it, and I recently watched Chanel from Chanel Time. I watched her mid-year book freakout tag, and she talked about the Hunger Games, and I think that was just like my limit. I was just like, all right, that's it. Like there's been too many people that I admire talking about the Hunger Games. I think it's finally time for me to read it. So I think that and Hank Green's book, those are just the main books that I want to focus on reading before the end of the year. And I always see the Hunger Games at Goodwill, so I might as well just drop like $5 and buy the whole series and read it, right? Those are all the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag. If you have made it this far, comment down below a flower emoji, any flower emoji, just to let me know that you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you like my new hair. I hope that you like the channel's rebranding. And yeah, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And thank you so much. I hope I see you in my next video.